Outdoor Adventures is sponsored by Burris Optics and the Eliminator Laser Scope, Stormcloth 2 Performance Outerwear, Corbon DPX Ammunition, Kershaw Knives, the new Bresser 360 Trail Camera, Steiner Binoculars, Outdoor Trail Freeze-Dried Foods, Montana Decoy Company, CVA Muzzle Loaders, and UDAP Bear Pepper Spray.
The Yukon. Once a land of opportunity during the gold rush in the late 1800s, is now journeyed to for another natural treasure, the Dall sheep of the Ruby Range. This week's episode of Steve's Outdoor Adventures takes you to northwestern Canada, to the Yukon Territory and the famed Ruby Range. You'll join Steve's Outdoor Adventures client Jim Schmackle and Roxanne Kelso, along with their guides Jim Richards and Mitch McKibben, on their journey to the top of the world on their quest for a trophy Dall's ram. Join them as they traverse rugged terrain and test their mind and body on a grueling yet rewarding sheep hunt on Steve's Outdoor Adventures. Our sheep hunting adventure began in the town of Whitehorse, located in the Yukon Territory. There, Steve's Outdoor Adventures client Jim Schmackle and I boarded a float plane that would fly us approximately 100 miles to base camp, where we would meet our guides and fellow hunter Roxanne Kelso. Our float plane ride gave us an incredible view of the Yukon's Ruby Range Mountains. It was a smooth flight, and before long we were touching down at base camp. Jim and I met our guides Jim Richards and Mitch McKibben, and we unloaded our gear. A few hours later, another float plane brought in Roxanne Kelso, who would be joining us on our hunt. After spending the night at base camp, we were up early the next morning, preparing our horses for a 6-mile ride to Spike Camp. Heading up the pack train was guide Jim Richards, followed by Roxanne Kelso, Jim Schmackle, and guide Mitch McKibben. Oh, and I can't fail to mention Tuffy, Mitch's trusty border collie. Tuffy quite possibly could be the friendliest dog I ever met. After settling into Spike Camp, we rode up the valley to begin glassing for sheep, and it didn't take long for Jim to spot a ram bedded on a mountainside far across the valley. Stay tuned to Steve's Outdoor Adventures. When we return, we'll start our first climb after Dall's sheep in the Yukon. Welcome back to Steve's Outdoor Adventures. As we join Steve's Outdoor Adventures client Jim Schmackle, Roxanne Kelso, and guides Jim Richards and Mitch McKibben as they prepare to start their first climb for some rams they spotted the evening prior.
All right, so so we know these rams are up here. We're gonna sneak around this side, keep the wind in our face. We're gonna try to get up there. We want to try to gauge these rams. If there's a shooter ram there, we're gonna take them for sure today. And just gotta go slow, plug away. You know, it ain't a foot race, so we're all gotta get there together.
That's right. Caught them like they're after us.
Let the games begin, I guess. Yeah.
Let's get predatory, boys.
After riding our horses 4 miles or so to the base of the mountain, we began our ascent to the bench on which we spotted the rams the evening before.
You know, when you look how far we've come, and you think, man, if I had to hike up that far, I'd be worn out by the time I got to the horse.
I wouldn't even make it to the horses.
Yeah, 2 days crap on your back.
After a rest break, we continued up the mountain until we finally reached the bench on which a small band of rams were bedded. Hunters and guides sneak into position so that they could get a spotting scope on the rams to judge their age and trophy quality. The group once again had to change position to get a little closer and have a better angle on which to carefully look the rams over. After checking the rams, the guides determined that none of the rams possessed enough curl to make them legal. So we headed back down the mountain to the horses and began the 2-hour ride back to Spike Camp. Welcome back to Steve's Outdoor Adventures, as we once again join hunters Jim and Roxanne and their guides Mitch and Jim climbing to the top of a mountain on which the guides had success on an earlier hunt. The weather had taken a turn for the worse. The mix of clouds, fog, and smoke from a nearby forest fire rendered our visibility to practically zero.
miles north of us, and we're just smoked in right now. It's kind of going in and out and swirls, kind of. Sometimes we get a glance or not, but we killed 2 rams in here last time like nothing, so we're hoping that they're kind of hanging in here somewhere. That's about all there is to it. We're just going to have to hang tough and see what happens.
Through a small break in the fog and smoke, we were able to spot a band of sheep across the canyon, feeding their way towards the top. Our guide Mitch took a closer look at the band of sheep with his Swarovski spotting scope, checking for rams. But no rams were spotted, and our guide Jim and hunter Roxanne Kelso decided to skirt around the rim below to glass another canyon to our left. As Jim and Roxy glass through the thick fog and smoke, small windows of visibility give them a chance to survey the canyon walls for rams. Jim glasses down in the bottom of the slide, and he can't believe what he sees. A band of 6 large rams feeding on willows nearly a half a mile below he and Roxy. Jim immediately determined that the band held a shooter ram, and he and Roxy decided to gather up the rest of the crew and head down the mountain to try to intercept the rams. Stay tuned to Steve's Outdoor Adventures. When we return, we'll begin our stalk on a trophy ram in the Yukon's Ruby Ring. Welcome back to Steve's Outdoor Adventures. Hunters Roxanne Kelso and Jim Schmackel are led by their guides Mitch and Jim through rock bluffs, rims, and scree as they scramble to get in position for a shot at the trophy rams feeding in the willows below. With limited cover with which to work and rugged terrain to traverse, the going was slow. The group finally reached a vantage point approximately 670 yards from the rams. But with absolutely no cover left between us and the rams, Jim and Roxy decide to close in another 40 yards and take a shot.
Okay, if we get to that rock, you're going to have to probably shoot, okay? Just slide with me. That way to look around for you.
Jim and Roxy work their way into position 630 yards above the rams. As Mitch and Jim join up, Roxy prepares for a 630-yard shot from a prone position. Roxy steadies her aim on the huge ram on the right, takes a deep breath, and squeezes the trigger. The ram is hit. The group watches the rest of the rams scurry up the mountainside as the wounded ram separates himself from the rest of the band. Roxanne and Jim head down the mountain to finish the ram. Roxanne had pulled off an incredible shot on an amazing ram. By the time Roxy and Jim climbed down to the ram, it was getting dark, and with not enough daylight to hike back up the mountain to the horses and ride 3 hours back to camp, we were forced to spend the night on the mountain. So Mitch, Jim, and I gathered firewood and prepared a fire for the long, cold night ahead. The next morning, we made our way back to the ram to discuss our adventure.
Well, Roxy, that was quite a climb, huh? I almost think I was going to expire there a couple of times.
I didn't think I was going to make it.
And boy, what a pretty ram. You know, those rocks are so rugged up there. When we kept cliffing ourselves out, I thought, boy, we aren't going to get there. You know, we're going to run out of time. Did a hell of a job.
A good thing the Yukon gave us long sun.
Yeah, they're long days. That was a hell of a shot. You know, it's we didn't finish them with the first one, but we got up, we give him a good kill, and I can't be more pleased. I just can't tell you, I can't be more pleased with this ram. You know, he's 40 inches, and he's just got it all. He's just heavy and beautiful, you know.
Well, 630-yard shot gave us an opportunity to come down here and get him shut all the way down.
You know, and I think that it was too long of a shot. You know, it was really too long, but it's all we had.
That's all we had. And if we wouldn't have done it, we'd have just watched him go over the hill with the rest.
Yeah. And he's an old ram, you know, he's on his last winter probably coming up, and you know, I've often thought that you know, and with a bullet, maybe to some people's eyes it's not the same, but I think it's probably better than get drugged down by wolves, or you know, losing your teeth, or
well, he gets
whatever.
to winter in Arizona now.
Yeah, that was a heck of a night too. Thank God the other guys had enough firewood to keep us going. Not much sleep.
Just keeping warm.
But when you look at that sun, it's going to be a beautiful day.
It is going to be a beautiful day, and it was all worth it.
Yeah.